Okay, we're ready to roll. Thank you, Tony.
All right, great. Hello and welcome everyone to the launch of my new business, That Gut Feeling. Thank you all for taking the time out of your day to come and help me celebrate. Hope you're all keeping well under the current circumstances and that you're keeping your stress levels down. If you've been following my page, you'd know how important it is to keep your stress levels down at times like this because it's really good for your immune system. And I've had such a wonderful response to through advertising for my business launch, and I'm just so pumped about it because if ever there's a time to share this kind of information, it's now. I'd like to say a huge welcome to my guest speakers, Rhonda and Madaleen. Rhonda is a nutritional therapist and Madaleen is an occupational therapist. And they'll be speaking about all things gut health related, immune system support, oxidative stress, inflammation, and lots more. So stick with us. Now, my name's Tony Dingle. For those of you that don't know me, I am a country kid through and through. I grew up on a property just outside of Taroom. Should be a photo up, and that is taken on top of our mountain at home. And that's one of my favourite places on this planet. And I don't think it matters where I go in life. Our family property will always be home for me. At the moment, I live on a property just outside of Idesville with my husband, and here we breed cattle and really, really cute boys. So I've got two of those. One is 3 and one turned 9 months old yesterday. Just as a side note, if you ever see me out and about, the temperament of our cattle has no correlation whatsoever with the temperament of my boys, so just keep that in mind. Now, there's a gift pack up for grabs. Lots of goodies there, all immune system supporting, gut health supporting. And I wanted to quick shout out to Tarina from Australian Naturals Online. That's where I source most of those products from. Tarina still has a great variety of stock left on the shelves. So if you're after that kind of thing, I encourage you to go and check her out. So Australian Naturals Online, and as the title suggests, all natural products, all Australian. What better time to get behind a business like that? Now, if you're wanting to win that pack, all you have to do is tag me either on Instagram, Facebook, in your stories. Just make sure you tag That Gut Feeling, otherwise I won't know that you've posted. That's all that you have to do. And there's over $100 worth of goodies there, so definitely worthwhile prize. So before I go on, I think it's a little bit of important for me to share a little bit about my journey, how I came to go down this path. And it all started for me when I became a mum. So my eldest boy had a few problems like eczema, and he just couldn't tolerate certain things. So that led me down the road of exploring natural products and ways that I could try and improve his gut health to sort of rectify those things. And it all kind of snowballed from there, because when I'm passionate about something, I don't really just skim the surface of things. I like to dive deep, and I really enjoyed what I was reading. So I've been reading ever since, and always looking for more. And there's a few other reasons why I've completely changed the trajectory of my life path. And so for those of you that don't know, I was an accountant prior to becoming a mother. And while I really enjoyed being an accountant, I went from someone who was, I was pretty laid back, not much bothered me, to a bit of a stress head. I was working really long hours, and yeah, that took a toll on me, changed me a little bit. So, and then when my dad passed away, which was a year and a half ago, it really hit home for me just how short life is, and how important it is to follow your passions, basically. And I didn't want to spend the rest of my life sitting behind a computer screen doing something that I wasn't overly passionate about. While I enjoyed my career and the professional side of things, I didn't light my fire, basically. Mind the flies, sorry guys. It wasn't until recently though that all the stars aligned and I had my aha moment. So a friend of mine has a little child that has been struggling with some developmental delays, things like speech delay, lack of social skills, fussy eating to the point where he would have the same foods that he would eat every day, and he wouldn't even entertain the idea of branching outside of those foods. He'd have major meltdowns, no focus on activities, and there's a few more issues to go with that as well. And these are all of the things that I had been reading about. And it's important to know that this family live rurally as well. So for them to get the therapies that they need to assist their little boy, they're having to drive hours, to see a speech therapist, occupational therapist, those kind of therapies. So you could imagine what kind of toll that would take on the family unit and mental health and all those sorts of things. And then not long ago, we were speaking on the phone, and she said to me that it's just all so overwhelming. There's so much information on the internet. She didn't know where to start, what to believe. And also there's just no support for people, for families like hers in the bush. And so that was my aha moment. That was when I realised this is what I was put on the earth to do, and to bridge that gap. And so that's where that gut feeling was born. The plan for me was, prior to coronavirus, to travel around rural communities and educate families on the importance of gut health. There's so many health-related issues that are tied back to our gut health, and it just blows my mind how many people are unaware of just how important it is. And so that's my mission, is to educate people on that. In the even longer run, I would love to go to schools and educate grade 11 and 12s on the importance of the decisions that they make now, the way that they treat their bodies now, the implications that will have for them further on down the track, and not just for them, but for their babies as well. So since the conversation with my friend, I have been diving deeper and deeper. And so I've been reading, listening to podcasts, watching videos, trying to work out where to go study-wise, so that I could be doing these things. And then one day I found myself listening to a podcast that was discussing things like oxidative stress and mitochondria. So these are things that I had been reading about also. So I knew a bit about it already. And the lady that was talking, I'm like, as she was speaking, I was like, this lady is talking my language. And she was doing everything that I wanted to be doing. So I got a little bit stalkerish, and I reached out to her and I said, hey, would you mind getting me on the right track with where to go for study. And as well as to link her up with my girlfriend. And so that was my first introduction to Rhonda, who's now my business partner. And I'll let Rhonda share her own story with you. But this woman is inspirational, and she knows her stuff. And so not only did she sort me out study-wise, but she introduced me to a product that she's been using within her practice that she's been having great success with. And when she was discussing with me the mechanics behind how the product works, so the science behind the product, I could immediately identify with it. It was all stuff that I knew. So I didn't even take any time to speak to my husband about it. I was like, because my goal with my business as well is to stock products that support gut health and all that sort of to boost your health, basically. And so I jumped on board. And I just wanted to shout it from the rooftops there and then. And I had my husband in the background, though. He's going, well, pump your brakes, Tiger. It's one of his favourite sayings. And by doing that, he planted a bit of seed of doubt in my mind. And then I started thinking, I've always been told if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And so I reined it back in a little bit, and I thought, well, you know what, this is too important. If it does what it says that it can do, and if these testimonials that I'm reading are accurate, it's too important not to share. So I reached out to some family and friends that I could think of off the top of my head that I would be able to help. And I said to myself, right, I'll give this product a month to prove itself, and put it out there basically before I go and pursue it any further. And so that's what I did. I sent it out to some friends and family, and it took 7 days for me to get the feedback that I was hoping for. So after 7 days, and that was from my girlfriend that I had mentioned. So after 7 days, she rang me and to tell me that their little boy had made more progress in 7 days than what he would in months. So that's pretty huge. And it was things like he was playing with their little puppy, who he was normally terrified of. He was saying hello to strangers in elevators, male strangers at that, which is the worst kind in his eyes. He was more focused in his therapies. He had done his first poo on the toilet and wiped his own butt. She said she left the shopping centre without any of the usual battles. So there was no meltdowns. There was no him running away from her. It was just calm. And she also mentioned that he was better able to focus on activity. So stay in that activity for much longer. And she was able to sit down and help him with the activity, which is something that wasn't normally possible for her, because the minute she would try to intervene and help him, he would have a meltdown, and that would be the end of it. And her next words gave me goosebumps. I will never forget them. She said, "I can see my beautiful boy's personality shining even more brightly now." And so that was all the proof that I needed. And so since then, I've been busy phoning more friends and family to let them know that I have this product to help them. And so from that, I have some more testimonials that I'd love to share with you. But before I do that, I'd like to invite Rhonda to give you a little overview of the importance of gut health, some simple things that you can implement right now to improve it, and to explain the science behind the products that I've been speaking of. So Rhonda, if you wouldn't mind.
Fantastic, Tony. Thank you so much. I love hearing you speak, because your passion is just deeply ingrained, and your community spirit is what makes this world go round. And the more and more people that we have like you, the better. Fantastic. So if I could just ask everyone just to mute themselves, that would be great, and I'll get started. So thanks for the introduction, Tony. I won't go too deeply into my personal story, but I am a nutritional therapist. I offer family health and development solutions. I predominantly work with women and children. My passion is mental health, pediatric special needs, and natural anti-aging. Natural anti-aging predominantly means that, like, I'm in my 50s now, I have my first grandchild, and I want to make sure that I'm still having the energy levels that I have now, which I feel like my energy is in my 20s and 30s. I want to maintain that, and, right up into my 70s and 80s. I want to be able to run around with my grandkids. So a little bit about me. I grew up in Central Queensland, Central Highlands, in Queensland. Emerald and Dysart, all those areas were my home stomping ground. We now live on the Sunshine Coast in southeast Queensland. We have 4 children, and my youngest child was the reason why I started to study nutritional therapy back in 2009. Prior to that, I was also in accounting and small business coaching. Just before his 3rd birthday in May 2008, we started to notice significant regression at the age of 20 months, but he received a diagnosis of a neurodevelopmental condition just before his 3rd birthday, May 2008. I won't go right into it, but predominantly it was major regression of all of his milestones. He had a compromised immune system, he lost all speech and language, fine motor skills, his bowels stopped working. So everything that Tony was talking about with her girlfriend, I can totally resonate with. And we too were out of town. We were on acreage, and trying to get in town to do all the therapies, etc., was absolutely really a real struggle, and you end up burning yourself into the ground. But that's what you do for your babies. You just want them to be healthy and happy and reach their true potential. And I was very fortunate, that my husband could actually help fund all the therapies, etc., that we needed. But that meant that he was working away and only coming home maybe, on weekends or once a fortnight, because it cost an absolute bomb. So I was able to throw myself into studying nutrient therapy and then really focused on mental health and pediatric special needs, and really focusing on nutrigenomics, epigenetics, and I can honestly say nutritional therapy was the backbone to recovery in his health and development, to the point where his official diagnosis was removed 3.5 years ago. It was actually on our wedding anniversary. But the downside of that was I did run myself into the ground, and to the point where my energy levels were constantly crashing. They were up and down all the time. And I had a massive big health clinic in Mackay. We were living in Mackay at that stage, and I'd have to work from the comfort of my bed. We moved to Sunshine Coast in December 2016, and June 2018, a good friend of mine, business partner Madaleen Krogh, who's also presenting on this call, she actually introduced me to a network of health advocates who are passionate about supporting and educating the community, just like Tony, who are also passionate about natural holistic health, but very heavily science-based. And when I started to look into that information that they were all talking about, I was totally blown away. And I was almost in tears thinking, why hadn't I heard about this information before? And it was all about fast-tracking oxidative stress and mitochondrial dysfunction, addressing those two particular topics, which I had been studying since 2009 and using, food and supplementation, etc. If I'd known about this back then, it would have saved us an absolute truckload of money, so much time and heartache, and definitely I believe I would not have worked myself into the ground. Don't get me wrong, food and supplementation is absolutely crucial, but it only works on a 1-to-1 ratio. And what we have and what we're going to be talking about today is absolutely extraordinary, and it is a medical breakthrough in the realm of nutrigenomics, which we'll be talking about. When I started to take these activators, 3 days in, and my energy levels were back. It was absolutely amazing. I was waking up bright as a button, ready to tackle the world. And we've been, taking these activators now for 15 months, and, it's just absolutely amazing. The feedback that I'm getting from my clients, experiencing significant improvements. Mums who were stressed out of their brains, ready to run away, are now calm, focused, and motivated to help their babies reach their true potential. And that's all I ever want. My job is to pass my knowledge on to others so they become the healers. We just want the public to reach their true potential. So some of the information that you might be hearing today might be seem a bit foreign, maybe even new, but I just ask to keep an open mind. We are not claiming, that we're healing or curing absolutely anything. This is purely, information, the statements that you'll be hearing from us. Sorry, that's my dog in the background. Dyson, shush. He's my little baby, my fur baby. But it does not replace a one-on-one qualified relationship, a qualified healthcare professional. This is not intended to replace that. It's just purely information. Okay, we always do say if you're wanting that one-on-one support, then go back to your healthcare professional. Okay, so my question is, how healthy are you? So, talking about my own health, recovering my son's health to the point where, now he's 15 this year, 6 foot, absolutely gorgeous, looks like his father, mainstream school, no one would even know. My health, I was eating all the right foods, etc. I was taking vitamins and minerals, but it just was not enough, okay? Our lifestyle really impacts upon that stress, which is understandable, during these uncertain times. A lot of people are really stressed out. And some people think that, they're eating really well. They might be exercising, etc. But it may not be enough, okay? Our community, if we're living in rural areas, we obviously don't get that social connectedness enough, especially if you're in isolation at the moment, which I am. you know, ends Tuesday morning, so that's really great. I can get out and about and into you know, go and do the shopping instead of waiting on friends and stuff to do that for me. But you know, environment also is a big factor of how healthy you are. I think we'd all agree our environment is way more toxic than what it was 50 years ago, in regards to the air that we're breathing, the water that we're drinking, things like that. 5G, you know, the genetic profile of us as individuals. Obviously, we inherit the genetic profile from our parents, but a lot of people aren't aware that our lifestyle, our community, our environment all impact upon our genetics, and this is what we call epigenetics, okay? So we can actually control these things to a certain degree, but a lot of the times, a lot of people, we can't avoid our environment. So, for example, our environment could be, you know, the foods that we're eating, pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, medications, alcohol or drugs, any kind of injuries. Like me, I've just come back from America and I've sustained an injury from snowmobiling. The toxins that we're being exposed to, it could be, you know, flame retardants on our kids' pajamas. Cosmetics, anything that we put on our skin is absorbed into the bloodstream within 26 seconds. Parasites, heavy metals, cleaning products that we're using in our homes, bacteria, fungus, and viruses. For example, you know, what we're experiencing at the moment. All of these things create cellular damage. But we have a choice. This is what, you know, we're being hijacked by our environment, and we can't do much about that. But what we can do also is we can start biohacking. So a lot of people may not have heard this term, biohacking. Another way of looking at it is that instead of taking the elevator, you could take the stairs. Instead of eating processed foods, we could be eating whole foods, you know, fresh fruit and vegetables, seasonal foods. This is all part of biohacking. So this is taking control of our cellular health, so optimizing our genetic potential, maximizing our performance, you know, our energy levels, because I think a lot of us understand that we are all living a long lifespan, but not necessarily living a healthy, functional, you know, a life of abundance. A lot of us are really quite ill or poorly. So what I want to do is I want to use nutrigenomics and tap into the epigenetics, the information, so that I have a very long lifespan, you know, but also live a very good, healthy lifespan. I want to be running around with my grandchildren when I'm in my 70s and 80s. So nutrigenomics is a really big market in regards to where a lot of studies are going these days. And nutrigenomics is something that I've studied since 2009. And Fox News recently reported that nutrigenomics is changing everything. Where we once thought we were powerless is now an area over which we have at least some control. So our family health history does not necessarily mean that is our future. We are no longer at the mercy of our DNA. And this is different to taking supplementation, which is obviously, you know, if you're lacking vitamins and minerals, essential fatty acids, etc., you know, it's absolutely vital that you're taking the right targeted nutrients. But this is totally different. This is actually activating our bodies to work as nature intended by using certain natural compounds that go into our cells and biohack the cells to turn on our body's production of protection against the environment that we're living in. So nutrigenomics is actually projected to be reaching over a $17 billion industry in just under 3 years. And this is what, you know, Tony's talking about now. You know, we're business partners in the nutrigenomics field. And I do recommend, if anyone is interested, if you're a health advocate, you don't have to be a health professional. If this is something that you're interested in, then reach out to Tony, because I know that she is looking for a tribe of health advocates to help spread the word that there is hope out there, there is light at the end of the tunnel, and you are not alone, especially in regional areas. Okay, so let's touch on gut health and why it's so important. So in regards to disease. I firmly believe Hippocrates, he got it right many, many moons ago when he says all disease begins in the gut. So the gut-brain axis, it's, the gut is the second brain. If the gut's not working properly, that's going to impact upon every single cell in our body. Okay, it's a bit like if we go to the pub and we have a couple of drinks, which I'm out of action, I don't drink a lot anymore, which is probably a good thing. But if we have a couple of drinks, that's going to impact upon our brain function. Food has the same impact. We've got to understand that food can be medicine or it can be poison for some people. And it's about putting in the right nutrients, okay? And the old saying is you are what you eat. I say that's correct, but it's also about you are what you absorb. And this is why gut health is absolutely so important, and it's gaining so much attention now. Back in 2009, when I was talking about gut health and educating the community, they were looking at me as if I had two heads. I was loopy. This is so, so important. If your gut's not working properly, then you can bet your bottom dollar that the rest of your body is not working. It's going to, impact upon your sleep, your focus, concentration, your moods, a whole host of things. Okay, so let's just touch on in regards to what the gut is, okay? So hopefully we're chewing our foods into a liquid, we swallow it down into the stomach acids, and that dissolves it even further. It goes into the small intestine, and which is, the surface area of the small intestine is around about the size of two tennis courts. It's absolutely huge because that's where we're absorbing the nutrients from our food. Once we finish absorbing the nutrients from our food, it then goes into the colon, which is the large intestine, up the ascending colon, transverse, and then we eliminate, okay? So the big role of this is that it's really, really important that we're actually getting the right foods in, because certain foods are going to be feeding the beneficial bacteria that we have. So we are like 90% bacteria, 10% human. It's absolutely vital that we have a really good variety of beneficial bacteria, and that really depends on what it is that you're putting in there. So for example, if we're eating a lot of sugar and processed foods, that is going to feed the bad bacteria. So it's okay to have a small amount of bad bacteria, but we want more good bacteria. Prebiotics is what we feed the good bacteria, probiotics and things like that, nutrient-dense foods like plant foods, etc. So certain prebiotics foods are like onions, leeks, asparagus, all those types of things that can be very, very beneficial. Probiotic-rich foods like fermented foods, all the good stuff that Tony has in her gift pack. I highly recommend that you put your name down for that, because it's a beautiful package there. In regards to, bone broths, etc. So we need to feed the good guys. Okay, because those bad guys, the bad bacteria, they will send signals to the brain saying, feed me carbs, feed me sugar. It is like an addiction. I've seen children lick the floor, because pediatric special needs is my passion and my gig. I've seen children, it's like they will rip your head off to get carbohydrates, to get the white foods. And that was my son. It was absolutely horrendous. He went from a smorgasbord of food down to 5 foods. The good bacteria will also be, I suppose, they're going to be exposed to things like antibiotics and pesticides and things like that, and they can actually have a detrimental impact upon the gut microbiome, your beneficial bacteria. So this is getting a little bit more scientific, and I won't spend too much time on this, but you've got dysbiotic bacteria, which is impaired beneficial bacteria, and that's from antibiotics and chlorine and fluoride and things like that, sugar, processed foods. And then you've got the commensal bacteria, which are the good guys. And then you also have xenobiotics, which are, can be defined as foreign substances from exogenous, which are external chemicals from the body that they don't recognize. It's very hard to process, like food additives and cosmetics and things like that. And when we have a lack of butyrate, this can create excess free radicals, which I'm going to lead into. And free radicals are something that we all have, we can't avoid, and they lead on to excess oxidative stress, which then also impacts upon our mitochondria, which Madeleen's going to be talking about a little bit down the track. So in other words, gut health is absolutely vital. You are what you eat, yes, but You are more about what you're absorbing. Probably 80% of the people that I work with are not absorbing as nature intended. And just about this, if you're not eliminating properly, if you're not going to the toilet every single day and getting that feeling, oh, that was a good poo. If you're not getting that feeling, then you've got bacterial imbalances. We need to address that. We need to identify foods and stuff like that. And I implore you to get back to Tony, because she can also help you in regards to beneficial probiotics, etc. So what we need to do is we need to be eliminating, and this side of the ascending column, this is where we're absorbing all the nutrients, all the liquid from the small intestine, okay, and that goes back through the body. Now, if you're not eliminating properly and you've got stuff that's sitting there and it's just putrid, that is like you are drinking from the sewage treatment plant every single day. We need to avoid that like the plague, okay? We need to eliminate every single day. Because if we're not, then we're going to be building up free radical damage, oxidative stress, which is leading to mitochondrial dysfunction. Okay, so things that we can be doing to strengthen the immune system is eating a nutrient-dense diet, which is pretty much, in my eyes, non-negotiable. We have to support our immune system, especially in times like these. So you can be eliminating, refined sugars, refined oils, artificial ingredients, processed foods, junk foods, stuff like that. Focus on a diet that's rich in, vitamins, like, your green vegetables, herbs, spices, fermented foods, seasonal fruits, healthy fats like olive oil, coconut oil, MCT, avocado, things like that. And these are all going to be particularly beneficial for your immune health and immune boosting properties. So things like lemon and limes are a great source of vitamin C, and some of the activators and stuff that we'll be talking about a little bit down the track, they actually help to boost our the vitamin C that we get from our foods, because supplementation isn't going to be enough. Okay, we need to activate our body to work as nature intended. And the beauty of the lemons and limes, etc., they actually help to alkalize and cleanse the body. Bone broth, rich in vitamins and minerals, great for respiratory conditions. Garlic helps to reduce inflammation, also support the immune system, helps us to fight infections. I think most people are familiar with that. Onion is also similar to garlic. And apple cider vinegar is also beautiful. It's a great disinfectant, helps support against resistant bacterial strains and viruses, also offers antioxidant support. Olive oil, like I was saying, great fats, beautiful for the immune system. Ginger is also a potent medicinal spice, helps to reduce inflammation, boost the immune system, lowers pain, etc. And mushrooms, absolutely fantastic inflammation, and it's a superfood. So in addition to that, probiotics, please go back to Tony and she can help you with the probiotics. So just touching on probiotics, I want to just explain that not all probiotics are the same. So you can go to health food stores, pharmacies, etc. If they don't have technology which is called delayed release, a biotrack, a lot of them dissolve really quickly in the stomach acids. So then you're lucky if you get 4% of that beneficial bacteria to where it needs to be, whether it's the small intestine or the large intestine. And trust me, a lot of probiotics are very expensive. So you want to make sure that you're actually getting what you're paying for. So the one that Tony actually has, and we all recommend, is a delayed release. And it's scientifically proven that you're going to get at least 60% of the beneficial bacteria. 60% is going to survive and get to the small intestine and the large intestine. So that's really worth an investment. Okay, go back to Tony and she can talk to you about that. Okay, so I touched on free radicals. What does that mean? So free radicals attack the cells and they cause aging. And this is what I was talking about, natural anti-aging. I'm trying to reduce the free radicals, the damage upon my own cells. And free radicals are caused by pollution, stress, radiation, toxins, and lots more. And they actually lead to oxidative stress. So every single person on the planet has free radicals. We're born with it. From the very first time we breathe, like oxygen creates free radicals. When we metabolize food, the very first time we suckle from the breast, that's going to be creating free radicals. Every single mammal on the planet has it. Okay, it's a normal process. We all need to have them, but only in small amounts. An excess of free radicals is absolutely detrimental because it's causing damage on a cellular level. And an excess of free radicals is what causes the oxidative stress. And the only way we can reduce oxidative stress or the free radicals is to give our bodies antioxidants. And you've probably all heard of antioxidants. So like I was saying before, we can't avoid oxidative stress. We can't avoid the free radicals. But you know, our environment is totally different to what it was 50 years ago, 100 years ago. It's becoming more and more toxic. The water that we're drinking, like I said, you know, fluoride, chlorine, herbicides, pesticides, fungicides, genetically modified foods, the chemicals in the home, mobile phones, 5G, microwaves, every time we're putting fuel in the car, all these things are all adding up. Even exercising, you know, don't get me wrong, we all need to do that. It helps with, you know, good hormones, etc. But if we over exercise, then that can be very problematic because we're creating too much oxidative stress. So all of these contribute to the free radical damage on our cells. It's like that apple, when you cut it in half, leave it on the kitchen bench, you can start to see it oxidizing, going brown right before your eyes. That is what we call like oxidation. It's the rusting of our cells. It's causing cellular aging, and which is linked to over 260 diseases, conditions in the body. I recommend that everyone looks into that. This image here is in regards to all the fires, the air that we're breathing. This one was from the Yeppoon fires, and there was a Professor Brian Oliver, an expert in respiratory diseases in a university in Sydney, and he was saying, you know, that the smoke that's produced by, you know, burning is noxious and bad. That's a no-brainer. I think we all get that. But what really surprised me was that he was saying breathing that air is equivalent to smoking 37 cigarettes per day. That's not just for us, but that's for our babies as well. And that to me is really concerning. These are things that we have no control over, okay, our environment. However, if we can actually start to reduce the free radicals, the oxidative stress, then we can actually start to take some of that control back, okay? So it's really important to reduce the oxidative stress because it has a negative impact on every part of our body. Your body's made up of cells. They're made up of tiny building blocks. Cells make up tissues, which make up organs, which make up organ systems and makes up us, yes? If it's left unchecked, then yeah, it can be really detrimental. So I really do recommend that Google the effects of oxidative stress on the body, and you'll be very surprised at what you find. So oxidative stress, how much do we have of it? So we have approximately 37 trillion cells. And in every single cell, we have millions of free radicals in every single cell. So that pretty much works out to 3.72 quintillion free radicals, yes, molecules per cell. So one free radical requires one antioxidant molecule. For example, using food as a nutritional therapist, I absolutely love using food, even vitamin C, all these vitamins and minerals and stuff, but it's just a 1-to-1 ratio. To wipe out 6,700 molecules, you would need one punnet of blueberries because that has 6,700 antioxidant molecules. And I'm sure that you can do the sums, you can see that one punnet of blueberries is not going to be enough. Even vitamin C is not going to be enough, unfortunately. All these things are beautiful, you know, foods and limes and lemons that you get beautiful vitamin C, but it's just not enough. We need to break down this harmful effect. We need something more powerful, okay, rather than just a 1-to-1 ratio. Scientists have actually found a pathway that we're all born with, and it's called NRF2. And the downside of that is that at the age of 20 to 25, that all starts to shut down and turn off. That's the old saying, you're over the hill. Yes, you're getting old. But the beauty of this is that we can actually turn this NRF2 pathway back on. It's like flicking a switch. And when we do, that actually turns on all of our own antioxidants because we're all born with these beautiful natural antioxidants. And children are born with it today. Although I see in clinic each child is becoming weaker and weaker. And I do think that that is a real concern. So using food, beautiful, absolutely highly recommend it, but it's not going to be enough to reduce the free radical damage, the oxidative stress that we're all experiencing. So when we turn back on that NRF2 flick that switch, we start to produce more catalase, glutathione, and SOD, superoxide dismutase. All big words, you don't need to remember them. But when we're doing that, it's absolutely way more effective because it's going to be working out 1,000,000 to 1 ratio rather than 1-to-1 ratio. So if we're just using food for an example, your house is on fire, okay? You have got a glass of water and you're throwing a glass of water onto the house fire. That's what 1-to-1 ratio is like. Whereas if you flick that NRF2 pathway back on, that is like every sprinkler in the house turns on, the fire brigade turns up in minutes, and everyone in your neighbourhood's there with a bucket or a hose. You're going to be turning off, like putting that fire out within minutes, okay? This is how powerful our body is when it's working as nature intended. We can get our bodies to work and flip this switch back on, okay? And I think you'd all agree it's going to be far more effective, a lot cheaper, and it's more sustainable if we can just get our bodies to work as nature intended. So analogy of what we would need for a 1-to-1 ratio, we would need, it's something like 5 kilos of organic blueberries, 87 glasses of red wine, 120 vitamin C tablets, or 375 oranges a day. Seriously, it's not sustainable. Or we could be taking just 1 tablet a day. This is simply what we're calling making our own antioxidants, okay? There was an ABC investigative report done way back, I think it was 2005, and they had, it was a blood test that they did, and they had a study from people aged 20 all the way through to 80. And before taking this activator, NRF2 activator, they were all taking antioxidants themselves, using antioxidants, eating high amounts of antioxidants. And you can see the blue dots, that's where their levels of oxidative stress were, the free radicals. 1 month after, you can see the yellow, green dots. Yes, the antioxidant levels were much lower. And then 120 days, the red dots, you could not identify the difference of the blood draw from a 20-year-old to an 80-year-old. This is what I'm talking about, natural anti-aging. In my 80s, I want to have the same blood cells, healthy cells, as a 20-year-old. So I'll now pass over to Madaleen, and she can talk about the impact from, when the gut's not working properly, free radical damage, oxidative stress, how it also impacts upon our energy and our sleep and our focus and concentration, but also our immune system. And it's all about mitochondria. Thanks, Madaleen.
Thank you so much, Rhonda. So as Rhonda mentioned, I'm an occupational therapist, and my journey really started about 20 years ago. I had some health concerns, and I was able to an extent to recover my health through lifestyle, exercising and eating really healthy. But then I got married and I got kids. I've got 4 kids, and I just started to experience that I had a lot of fatigue. And around the age of 30, I just felt like I was 80. So my passion was really born to find a way in which I could biohack. And for many, many years, I think I've been a natural biohacker because I've always been looking at ways to do things more effectively. So when I came across this science as a healthcare professional, it absolutely blew my mind. Because as a healthcare professional, I've been working with clients with chronic pain and lots of conditions for so many years. And although we don't claim to heal, cure, prevent, mitigate disease, I was so passionate about this, and I just wanted to share this with the whole world. Because this is 100% natural. And what I also see is it's so easy for people to implement this because it's simply open the bottle and swallow. It's not heavy methods that you need to incorporate in your lifestyle. So in terms of mitochondria are very much related to oxidative stress. And if you think about high school biology, that mitochondria are basically the energy hubs of your cells. Now, you don't only have one mitochondria per cell. You can see in that picture, the mitochondria are the orange figures. You've got thousands of mitochondria per cell, except for your white blood cells. Now, the mitochondria, as I mentioned, the energy hubs, they are responsible for that specific organ to do its work. So it's way more than the energy that you have in the morning when you open your eyes. It also relates to the eyes, the heart, the muscles, to do its own job. Now, if you think about the heart cells, for instance, they have about 10,000 mitochondria. With aging, unfortunately, the mito decline in number and in effectiveness. So if you have a heart cell that's supposed to have 10,000 and now it only has 5,000, you're going to have an underpowered heart. So we really have to look at the mitochondria in order to have an optimal machine and optimal organs. Now, another thing that is really important about the mitochondria is the environmental factors, like Rhonda said. All of that damages our mitochondria. Oxidative stress has a massive impact on mitochondria, and air pollution, 5G, all of that have an impact. Now, if you look at the mitochondria has its own DNA, and as you can remember from school biology, you've got the DNA in the cell as well. If you don't have optimal mitochondria and if you don't have optimal DNA, what Rhonda described with the NRF2, the DNA of the mitochondria has to work with the DNA of the cell. And that cell communication is so important for the cell to work optimally. Another important fact is the cells that you have now are not the cells that you were born with how many years ago. The cells replicate, and if you have damaged DNA, as you can see in that graph, the free radicals damage your DNA and your mitochondria, you are going to make bad copies. That means if you have a bad copy and you make another bad copy, it's like a photocopy machine, a copy from a copy from a copy, you are unfortunately going to damage your DNA. So it's so important for us to look after our own mitochondria, because they are really the life stream of every single cell in our bodies. Thank you, Rhonda. So if we just have a look at this, what damages your mitochondria? Alcohol, statins, a lot of medications, unfortunately, even paracetamol. We give that to our kids, to our babies. People are so easy to take paracetamol. So we really need to look after what we put into our bodies and how we can upregulate our NRF1 pathways so that we can make more and better mitochondria. That is an explanation of the healthy cells versus the unhealthy cells. As you can see, if you have healthy cells, lots of energy output, and you will be able to fight the free radicals. Unfortunately, with the unhealthy cells, you are going to be affected and impacted by the free radicals, and that is definitely going to affect your energy output. And the mitochondria are affected by aging. Like I said, with age, your mitochondria decrease in number and effectiveness, but there's also other things that impact your mitochondria. At the bottom, you can see drugs, genetics, free radicals, environmental factors, aging, all of that is really detrimental for our mitochondria. So it's so amazing to know that with the science of nutrigenomics, we have the power to switch on that NRF2 pathway to make more and better mitochondria. Thanks, Rhonda. So mitochondria also relates to metabolism. If your mitochondria are down, your metabolism is going to be negatively affected. That is going to have a result on your energy, and it's going to cause increased weight gain. Energy is unfortunately linked to healing. So if your energy in that inherent cell is affected, healing is going to be affected, and ultimately brain function in every single cell is going to be affected. So as I mentioned, mitochondria produce up to 95% of our body's energy, and really the quality of your life depends on the quality of your mitochondria. So what we're talking about is upregulating your mitochondria and your NRF2 pathway. The mitochondria is the NRF1 pathway through specific compounds. So you can look at resveratrol, CoQ10, ALA, L-carnitine, quercetin. Glutathione is very, very important. It's your master antioxidant. Now, there's a lot of people who get injections For glutathione, unfortunately, if you get it from an external source, the absorption is really bad. So we recommend that you switch on your NRF2 pathway so that you can make your own antioxidants, your own glutathione. There's a study that has shown that you can increase your glutathione by 300% in 120 days. That is absolutely massive. That's absolutely powerful. Green tea. So all of those are great. The NRF2 activator, however, is so powerful. If you take these ingredients on its own, you're not going to see significant improvement, because there's a synergy working amongst these ingredients. So if you have a look at those ingredients, the ingredients of the NRF2, the green tea and the ashwagandha bacopa, they work in a specific synergy to make it 1,800% more effective. So if I look at ingredients, I want to have the best output. And it was literally a 40-year process comparing 2,500 different blends to find this most powerful blend of NRF2 and NRF1 activation. Thank you, Rhonda. So ultimately, we want to have the best life. We want to be biohacked. We want to take control of our own biology. And it does not only relate to aging when you're 80, like Rhonda mentioned, aging really starts when you're 20, 25 years old. And when you look at yourself in the mirror, whether you see wrinkles or gray hair, unfortunately, the most aging is taking place on a front where you can't see it, and that is in your cells. And when I am 80, I want to be the wild granny in the aged care facility that is really alive and well. And we really want to encourage you guys to take control and ownership of your health, because the science is out there. When I studied as an occupational therapist, I didn't know about this. It was an absolutely mind-blowing experience for me when I came across the science. There's studies out there. You can go back to Tony. She can send you some of the studies. Washington State University has done a study to say that NRF2 is potentially the most extraordinary breakthrough preventatively and therapeutically in the history of medicine. Those are massive words, and you have it. It's so easy. Like I said, it's a two-step process. Open the bottle and swallow, and it's 100% natural. Thank you so much. I'm going to hand back to Tony. Tony, if you want to share some of your stories.
Now, before I get into the testimonials, I have to share with you that when these testimonials started coming through the door, I obviously was quite excited about it all. And I'd go back to Rhonda and I'd be like, this, and this is happening. And she'd be like, yeah, you know, seen it all before, sort of thing. And but she had to be like Brody is with me and just ease up. Not everyone has these kind of responses to the product as quickly, and the reason for that is that we all, as individuals, we're all bio individuals, and things affect us differently. So that's why you might be able to have a glass of milk and have no problems, whereas if I have a glass of milk, I'd be popping off for the rest of the day. So that same kind of thing. So, but I can go into, if you are interested in learning more, I can go into all of that sort of stuff with you at a later date. The other thing that I wanted to mention as well was when I sent these products to my family and friends, I sent a letter along with it, and I said exactly what I was doing, and I said, I want 100% honesty from you. If it's not working, tell me. If you're experiencing things, and I asked them to write everything down, no matter how big or small. So and so these are the testimonials that have resulted from that. So I'll jump into it. Okay, so the first one, this is a 3.5-year-old boy. So just wanted to touch base and let you know that we have some really great feedback for you. Here's a bit of our backstory. My son has a few developmental delays, mainly for speech and communication. We had been doing all the traditional therapies to help with this, with small improvements over a fairly long time, but nothing too monumental. After being on the products for less than a month and making some dietary changes, he is so much more focused. He is able to concentrate on tasks for longer. He interacts for longer periods and wants to communicate so much more. All of these things combined has resulted in him learning things far more easily and quickly. His speech has come ahead in leaps and bounds. He still has a way to go, but to see such a big change so quickly is really heartening. We're also very excited to say that he is now fully toilet trained, something only a couple of months ago we were skeptical of happening anytime soon. Just wanted to thank you for all of your help. We cannot wait to see what he will be doing next. The next one, so we're looking at 50 plus here. Sleeping very deeply, not waking to alarm, getting a solid 5 to 6 hours sleep. Slight reduction in swelling of legs, 3 weeks on product. The third one, I've been taking the tablets for the past 4 weeks and have already noticed a change. I'm sleeping more deeply, waking up in the mornings feeling far more refreshed. Only downside is it means the kids have to make a bit more noise to wake me up at night. I have also noticed that I'm feeling far more positive about life just in general. I had been struggling a bit with staying motivated and seeing the positive side of things. However, of late, I am just happier in general. I don't seem to be sweating the small stuff as much, which I'm finding gives me more energy as I don't feel as mentally drained. My husband even commented on it. Poor guy, he was a bit unsure how to word that compliment. Anyway, I just wanted to let you know how it was going. So excited to see what other changes I will see next. 3 weeks on the product. So, sorry, that previous one you're looking at 30 to 35, and this one is around late 20s. 3 weeks on the product. I no longer have overbearing cramps that would force me to stay in bed all day when I ovulate. I'm still slightly tender, but doesn't bother me at all now. It's balanced my hormones out. My overall mood swings are nearly non-existent. I don't snap at the slightest things anymore. I don't feel stressed all the time like I was. My period is more balanced now. I used to have up and down days all through my period where I would go from painful cramps and heavy bleeding to barely any blood and no pain, then the next day back to heavy and painful. My skin looks 10 times better than it ever has. No more red blotches and heavy breakouts. And I'd just like to mention too, that was the first thing I noticed, and I noticed it within a week. My skin just, I don't know, was glowing, like the whole pregnancy glow that you get, some people get. I don't get headaches like I used to. My nails are growing like crazy and are so strong, which is strange because they're normally really brittle from chewing them my whole life. I feel a lot more energized every day, like I am always keen to get out and have a go and socialize, whereas before unease and uncertainty killed my social life and I isolated myself. I used to get a really bad rash on my legs and underarms every time I shaved, to the point it hurt to move around because it would irritate it, and that's reduced to almost nothing now, which is amazing as I've suffered from this since the moment I started shaving. To go elaborate a little bit more on the part where she speaks about the unease and uncertainty, and the other one that I mentioned before, that things being a bit overwhelming. I was talking to a girlfriend last night and she explained it really well to me, and I thought I'd share that with you. So she's got 3 kids, and she said normally, you know, you'll be holding the baby in one arm and she's screaming, and then you've got the 2 others going mum, 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 and the other one's kicked his toe on something and he's bawling his eyes out. And she said it's like a volcano that's rising up within her. And she said that since the NRF2 activation, she said that's no longer there. It's not, she said, if they spill milk, for example, it's not a, oh my God, it's more of, oh, okay, you spilt milk, let's clean that up. You know, just the calming. The next one, a 7-year-old boy who struggles with change and big emotions. After being on them for 12 days on a lower dose than required for the first week and the correct dose for 5 days, I haven't noticed a change as yet as far as behaviour and mood. However, he is a heavy bedwetter, soaking nappies and sheets most nights. But he has excitedly told me the last 2 mornings that his nappy was nearly dry in the morning. He has also taken over full control of his tablet taking and eagerly crushes it and mixes it into a drink each morning. Another one, after 1 week, my lips were burning, dry, and swollen, and a swollen sensation. Settled down after a week. Noticed on the 6th day of this happening, the little lumps in my lips have disappeared. 2 warts on fingers have decreased in size, can breathe a lot deeper, not congested as bad after being in the air conditioning for 2 days. Broken capillaries on legs and face are fading. This is after 23 days. Looking forward to results after 23 months. Digestion slightly improved. Fluid retention slightly improved. So the next one is a 17-year-old and his mum. He probably isn't as moody. I have noticed him doing a lot more schoolwork, which makes me think his mind may be clearer to study. I was only looking yesterday in the mirror at my skin, thinking how much softer it looked and a little less sun damage. My desire to want to eat has increased as well, so I'm constantly trying to look for healthy options to make out of not many options in the fridge and cupboards. Thanks, coronavirus. Water intake has increased, energy has increased for sure. Oh, and so have my cracked heels. So she's using the hand cream on her cracked heels. She got me onto that actually. And another one that I got just not yesterday, the day before. Hey, lovely. I haven't had midday naps for 3 days now and am still on a buzz today right now. Have been awake since 5:30. Usually I'd wake at 5:30 and go back to bed till 7:30. Mum and Dad have both commented on my waking early and staying awake, going straight out to work. They both have too commented on my no midday sleeps. You have no idea how happy I am. Dad's been taking mine. So her dad's hijacked her pills, seeing the change in her, and Dad's been taking mine for 3 days willingly. It's funny, when she first started, she was telling me about the conversation she was having with them. She wants both of her parents to get on them, and she was telling me about the conversation. It was quite funny, and they're both paying her out. And, oh, you onto this natural stuff again? And yeah, so her dad's done a complete 180 on that. She says, I'll have to order him his own, which he has since done. And I got another message from her this morning, and she says, Dad, this is from her dad, sorry, my wrist is starting to go down, bub. For years, he has had issues with his wrist. That bad, he has had very little range in motion of his wrist and hurts when he has to grab little things and struggles to cut calves with it. So for those of you that might not be from the bush, taking out the calf's nuts, it's really swollen and has had to get cortisone needles. Swelling finally going down after years, he reckons. So I was pretty happy to hear that one as well. So as you can tell, there's some really great feedback there. And like I said, it doesn't necessarily happen that way for everyone so quickly, but those are all less than a month on the products. And so if it is something that you're interested in learning more about, and it may not be just for yourself, you might have a loved one or a friend that might suffer from one of the things that we've touched on, and yeah, put them in touch with me, and you can do that through my Instagram or Facebook at That Gut Feeling. And I've got AU on the end as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing, Tanya. It's an absolute pleasure working with you, because I know everything that you're doing comes from the heart, and you just want to help people. So yeah, thank you so much for your time. And I know everyone's busy catching up on jobs and stuff around their house, especially on a Sunday. So yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for your time, and I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their Sunday.
100%. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and thank you Rhonda and Madaleen. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thanks,
Take
Tanya.
care. Bye.
Bye.